Right. So, like I just explained, we run a query on the columns, right? Those are called the fields. Now, the first one we would do is to know what we have within the database. I've done one here. Let me do another one. And how did I get this one? This is from a different database.
How did you get this window where you are querying the database on?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a very, very good question. If you want to if you want to start work within a database, you need to run a new query.
Okay.
Okay, that opens this window. So if
Oh,
I click on that, it should open another window,
oh.
right? So this is the window we are using at the moment. Now I want to run this query on a completely different database. So what have I done? I have changed the source. This one is from this source. The first one here is from this source. Okay. The next one that I have chosen is from a completely different source.
Which we don't have.
Which you don't have, but don't worry about it. It's the same thing.
All right.
The only difference is that this database is actually meant for teaching purposes, whilst this one is what has been prepared for you to use in your Power BI.
Okay.
So this database is kind of a clean database, right? But
Okay.
this one has got all the things that you need to be able to use to run a tutorial or a lesson or lessons.
Okay.
Okay, so we will be using both. But the point is this, the queries are the same. You will be able to use the same queries regardless of which database you are working on, so long as you know what you are looking for. And what are you looking for? You need to know roughly what you have in your columns. You need to have an idea of what you have there. So this first example, for example, is just for us to know what we have in the database. Let me comment this out. Now, to be sure that I'm doing the right thing, let me see how this is named within that database. And that's something that we will touch on pretty soon. That is called literals. So the way you name your fields in the database, when you are calling them, you must spell them the exact same way. If you don't, you would generate errors. So you would see that when I remove the S from here, it created an error. What I'm trying to get here is from this table here, employees table, right? When I remove the S, it created an error. If I put it back, I get the error just goes away, right? If I run this query, clicking on the execute, this is what we have. So what notes the head column headers? We have person ID. Let's jot them down. Jot those things down. Person ID. We have employee number. We have start dates. We have end dates. We have title, forename, surname, birth dates, gender, address ID, date, time added, and then date time modified. Okay, so these are the columns we have in the employee table. So assuming you were to transpose this into an Excel sheet, these will be the columns you will get in the Excel sheet, and then these ones will be the rows, okay? Right. So I've run this query, and I told you, forget about the way I run the query. Forget about the way I got this here, because we are going to go into this now. I could have run the same query in a completely different way. What have I just selected? You would see that running this query has called all the column heads, right? So one way to use the select command is to retrieve all columns. This sign comments out. It's used in commenting. Now, what that means is that when you run a query, anything that you have commented out is not affected when you execute the query. Okay? But things that are not uncommented are affected. All right? There is this thing here that you can use to comment. Yep, this and that. You can also use this to comment out a number of selected rows, and this one to uncomment. Okay. So you can to retrieve all columns. And rows. There are two ways we can do this. So let me name this one 1A. Select. To retrieve all of these, what do I have to do? I have to name each and every column. Now in SQL, the where you have two words joined together to form one. For example, person and ID. They are two separate words. Person is a word and his ID is another word. So if you want to put these together as one word, you need to put an underscore between the two. Okay, so person ID. Select person ID. What is the next one? Employee number. employee number, start date, we also have end date there. End date. What else do we have? Title. Then we have forename, surname, birth dates. Mind you, birth date, somebody could have written it date of birth. It wouldn't matter at all. Remember, last week we said that there are keywords which are specific words that need to be used in a query. Then we also did say that there is what we call the user-defined words. I'm not sure whether I discussed that. Did we talk about user-defined words?
Yes, you mentioned it the last time.
Right. So user-defined words are words that the user themselves they've used within the query. So for example, all these are user-defined words, person ID, employee. I could have written these in any way, any way, shape, any form that I wanted. So these ones are not bound by any rules, right? The only rule binding these ones is that whether you have a compounded word like this, there has to be an underscore between them, right? Surname, birth dates. So in this particular instance, because it's written within the database as birth date, if I were to make a mistake and write it as date of birth, there will be an error. The system will not recognize it. Okay, that is what is called literals. So it has to be literally rendered as it is in the database. Address ID. Date time added. Date time modified. Now, I also said last week that there are two mandatory keywords that must be in every SQL query. What are these two keywords? In every
select and from.
Select and from. So all these here, you see that they are underlined because they are lost as to where they are being called from. Without specifying where you are calling these things from, they seem lost, right? That is why they are all underlined. So, but immediately I put the from there, it would all understand. Right. What do you think would happen if I run this query? Do you think this will be different from that? Oh, there's something wrong here. Dates modified. Okay, so something is wrong with this one. Okay. Date time. Do you see that? Just because I didn't name it well, See what has happened? Date time modified. Date time modified. Can somebody tell us, do you think there will be a difference between these two?
No,
Why?
no difference because it has the header's name, like all
I
the
can't hear
header,
you.
because it has the feed's name
It has what?
on the feed's name. Is it the feed's name on the select part?
I didn't get you. It has the what?
It has each name, like the
Oh, it
header's
has each
name.
name.
Yes, on the select
Okay,
part, like
okay. Yeah,
personal
that's you're
ID,
actually
employment.
correct. You are correct. You are very correct. So there will be no difference at all. There will be no difference at all between this query. This is the query I'm going to run now. I've highlighted it. See if there will be any change. If there will be any change. You see that it just flashed and it has returned the exact same result. If you were to take a screenshot, if you were to take a picture of it, you can take a picture of what you see and then compare. I'm going to run this now, and let's compare to see. It is the exact same thing. So what does this tell us? The select, when you run a select query, there are two ways by which you can do that. And you do that, you do this one if you do not know exactly, you don't know exactly what to find in the headers. So here we have retrieved all using this query. This one too, we have retrieved all using this query. Which one is more efficient? Naturally, the second one, this one here is more efficient. When you want to retrieve all columns, all rows, then you use this query here. Okay? Right. We can also just have a partial. We may not have everything. We may just select a partial. Let me just end up at surname. Partial selection. One moment. I have some noise. I have some noise in the background. Let me get it off. Thank you. I'm back. Right. So, like I was saying, we can, instead of running everything, we can do a partial selection. Okay. Just select whatever columns you want to show in your query. So assuming we don't need everything, we need just maybe the person ID, employee number, first name, surname, and maybe the dates they were employed. Okay, so you just select those columns that you need, And then where do you want the query to be from? Where do you want this selection to be from? You'd have to name the table. You don't name the table and then you wouldn't get a result. What is wrong with this? Select from. Why is this wrong? Why is, okay, let me rewrite this. How, is there a space or something somewhere? Let's see.
Okay, the last comma,
Hmm?
the last comma on surname, I think.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so if we run this now, you would see that, let's run this. It's only what we have selected that we have. We only get what we have selected, okay? We selected this, that person ID, employee number, start date, end date, title, forename, surname. That's what we have. All right. Now, so it doesn't matter what table, what database you have. So long as you run the correct queries, you should get the results that you are looking for. So, but select star. This is a very important command. Reason being that, assuming you do not know the columns that are in the database, you don't know, you've joined an organization newly, and they've just given you a database with certain instructions. Your manager has given you some instructions to run a query on a database. You initially wouldn't know what is in the database. So the most reasonable command for you to run so that you have an idea of what fields that there are in the database is to do a select star. That gives you an idea of all the columns that you have in the database. Does that make sense? Now let's see what we can have next. This query, this select command 2 can be, though it is very, very important, can be very, very dangerous. This same query here, very important, but can also be very dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Assuming you are employed by Facebook or Google or WhatsApp, and you are told to run a query on their database. Now, how many people do you think are on Facebook at the moment? You can Google it. Number of people on Facebook in 2024. How many people do you think are on Facebook?
About 2 billion.
Okay, 2 billion. That's even being conservative. I think there will be more than 2 billion people on Facebook at the moment. Right? So if you go and do a select all, whichever table that you use, or whichever table you select from, chances are that you are going to have 2 billion rows of data. What do you think that would do to your system?
Probably crush it.
It will probably crush it. It will probably deny other people access. Because if you could take over all the computing resource of the organization, Nobody may be able to, no other person may be able to run any other, will be able to do any other thing on the server for that period of time when you are running that query. And that is, if you are lucky, the system doesn't crash. So while it is a powerful query, we must also exercise restraint when we are using it. Right? So to do that, we can restrict the number of rows. You see, the most important thing is not the number of columns that matters. I haven't seen a database with 2 million columns yet, but I can guarantee you there will be databases with 3 billion rows as we speak. Columns may be just a few hundreds. Computing capacity can take and allow that. However, if you have to churn out 2, 3 billion, 4 billion rows, you are denying other people computing capacity. That is if you don't crash the system. So the next one is restricting roles, number of roles. How do we do that? We're going to run this same query. We're going to use the same one, but with a difference, with a slight difference. Instead of saying select everything. Now, when you say select everything, you are talking about select all the columns, all the rows. That's select all. Instead of that, you specify what you want, how many rows you want it to take. Now, mind you, the idea of running this query is to give you, or the reason behind running this query is to give you an idea of what columns there are in the database, to give you an idea of what fields there are in the database. Is that clear? Let's get that out of the way. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, right.
Yes, sir.
So the number of columns, regardless of how many rows you have, you can have all the columns regardless of the number of rows. So if I make this, select the top 7, what am I telling the system to do? I am telling the system to give me just the top 7 rows within the database. But I haven't restricted it from giving me the number of columns. It is going to give me all the columns, but only 7 rows. So if I run this now, it gives me all the columns like we had before. Everything. It's here. Person ID, employee number, start date, end date, title, forename, surname, birth date, gender, address ID, date, time added, date, time modified. It's giving me everything, but it's giving me just 7 rows. And this is manageable. The computing system, the server, will be able to manage this query successfully, even if there are 100 columns. So if you go into an organization, and this could be an interview question for those who will be doing database interviews. This is a common interview question, right? So you are employed by Google and you are, or Facebook, and you are going to run your first query. What will you do? Or how will you ensure that the computing system doesn't crash? You need to restrict the number of rows. Are we getting that?
Yes.
Right. Apart from that also, we can also, did I mention aliases the last time? I think I did. I mentioned aliases, right? I think I can go back into my notepad and see
You did.
and check. Did I mention aliases? Notepad. Aliases, did I mention? Yep, I think I did. Oh, yes, I did. Aliases. So the good thing to the reason why we use aliases in SQL is so as to shorten, to make work easy for ourselves. So assuming I just put that, right? I have technically asked the computer to, instead of call employees as full, I am asking it that, I'm telling you that anywhere it sees E, it just stands for employees. Right? That's what I'm saying. So if I run this query, it will provide the same answer. There wouldn't be any change whatsoever to the system. Right? So I have given employees an alias E. Right? We would use the aliases more often as we go along. We will use it more often. So partial 1C, partial selection or selecting specific roles. Is that okay?
Yes.
Right. Let me call this query 1. Query 1. And let me call this query 2. We're going to use a different form of the select command in this. To do this, I'm going to change my data source or source of my table. I'm going to change the source of my table. It's still within this. And that one, we would say use of the word. Okay, let me do something before I go there. Select. Let's do this again. There are a few questions I need to ask. Let's do this again. How many rows do you see that this table has? Employees table. How many rows? Who can tell us? Can you see?
About 12.
12. You see 12, right? Okay. Who sees something different? Okay. Now, let me ask you to do this. on the um
I'm seeing 136 rows.
beautiful 136. There are 136 rows. That's what is showing here. Can you see where my cursor is?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 136 rows in the database, in this particular table. 136 rows. Right. You can run the same query, for example, on let's say on this. Let me uncomment it. Yes, somebody has their hands up.
Good
Somebody
evening,
has
sir.
their pardon?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Yes.
As at the time I joined the class, you've already start with the new query, and all these men at the same left-hand side has already been there. But I don't know how you get all those things. Is it that you are working on a particular database, or you get data from here, or you import it? Which one?
The database system has already got data in it.
Okay, sir.
So this is what you have on your own, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go to AdventureWorks. Forget about all these other ones. Just
Okay.
database. You see where database is?
Yes, sir.
Click on the plus sign.
Okay.
So the databases within this system here now are AdventureWorks DW 2020, SQL HR, and SQL training.
Is not under it.
Pardon?
What I is not those things there is not the one under mine.
Okay, forget about, okay, which one do you have? AdventureWorks, is that correct?
I have master model MSDB.
Okay,
CMP.
okay, wait. Can you, let me stop sharing. You share your screen. Let's see what you have.
Actually, I'm using phone. My laptop will soon be off.
You're using a phone.
Yes, sir. My laptop will soon be
So
off.
you're running a SQL server studio on your phone.
No, it's on laptop. I use laptop.
Put your laptop on charge. We'll give you time. Put it on charge.
Use phone to
Your line is
connect
breaking. We can hardly hear you now.
the issue. There is no light. We hardly have light.
Okay. Are you calling from Nigeria?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Can you hear us still?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Let me not, so just conserve your light as much as possible. Okay. Conserve whatever little power you have. I'm going to try to explain to you as much as possible. But if you think that you are going to get, but you have power on your phone, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can stay with us throughout. Is that correct?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Now, I said from the beginning that I asked from the beginning if Mr. Emmanuel had given you any data. I am aware that you installed SQL Server Management Studio, which is what
Yes.
we are using at the moment.
Yes, sir.
Then I'm also aware that he gave you some data which has been imported into the SQL Server Management Studio. Is that correct?
I am not sure because
Okay. In your
maybe
database, do you have AdventureWorks DW 2020?
no, sir.
Are you able to click? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, sir.
Do you see do you see the highlighted database blue here?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to click on the plus sign?
Yes, sir.
Do that, let's see.
It's still bringing the same thing that I
What is
said
it
earlier.
giving you when you click the plus sign?
Under it, I have system database,
Mm-hmm.
master, model, MSDB, and TEMPD. Rather.
Okay, I'm not sure what is. So maybe when next you get power, we will look at that. Or from
All
what you
right,
just
sir.
said to, I can maybe infer that you haven't yet loaded the database into your management
Oh,
studio, right?
maybe.
Okay, so that
that's
could
it.
be the reason why. So what you need
Okay,
to
sir.
do is to load this. Make sure you have power on your laptop.
Okay, sir.
Next week, Tuesday, because whoever has not
Okay.
loaded that data, Mr. Emmanuel would ensure you load it by Tuesday.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so make sure whatever you can do to charge your laptop, get it fully charged.
All
All
right,
right,
sir.
so that you are
Yes,
able
sir.
to follow the class.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
right. So, like I was saying, if we are to, sorry, I can't go into this thing because you can't share screen, so we really don't know what it is that the issue is. I can uncomment this here, and then I can also change the source of data to that. Okay, when I change the source of data and I execute, I am calling all the columns. I'm calling everything now from which table? Employee table within the AdventureWorks database. I'm calling it from the employee table. See, all these here, all this you see here are tables. So I'm only using one of them, the employee one, this one. This is the one I'm using. Okay? If you click on this, you would see, and then you click on that, you would see all the columns. Employee key, parent employee key, employee national ID alternate key, parent employee national ID. You see everything that is here. It follows like that. Do you see that? Okay. So what I want us to do now is to do something. I wanted to, where was I? I said I was going to query 2. But before I do this, before we use distinct, we bring in the word distinct. Distinct is another keyword used in SQL, right? We will see its use in a little while. Before I bring it in, I want us to look at something. I've changed my source of data again. So I'm using this one. Okay. Select all from training. Training. Select all from trading. TRAINING. Why is this underlined? I've changed the source. So why is it underlined? Am I getting the spelling wrong? Let's see, how is it spelled? Training. TRAIN. TRAINING.
Could it be because of the SQL in front of the training though?
Oh, no. That's not the reason why.
I'm thinking because you know the select top 7. You do.
Pardon?
I'm thinking the select top 7 from employees. You did not as an is active.
No, I've changed the data source, so that's not affecting.
Okay.
Okay, to be on the safe side, like you said, let me just comment everything out. And let's see what happens. Let me just comment it all. It's still there. It's still that. Okay, let me do something else. Something is wrong somewhere. What can it be? Let me see. Oh, that means it's under this. That means it's under this training. Okay, it's under a different I was looking for it in the wrong database. I was looking in the wrong database. Okay. So this is still under the HR database. Okay, so if I were to so now let me do the star. If I run this here, you would see that we have that. Now, why am I doing this? Look at it, course ID. Assuming you are, for example, we are now in a class, right? How many people are in this class? Let's say 10 people. And then you are to say the courses that they all do. Each course has got an ID. So assuming that Paradise does database, Scrum, BA, let's say 3 courses. Daulisa does database, BA, and Agile Delivery Management. Can you pronounce your name? Akinsheloyin.
Yes, Akinsheloyin.
Akinsheloyin does QA, database, and development. Right. If you are going to specify the the various courses that they do, and you are, for example, going to put this in a report, and then you are going to say that it's good when you are specifying them out individually like this. This does this course, that does this course, like that. But assuming you want to, for example, find you want to run a query on just the courses. You want to run a query on just the courses. On just the courses, right? So you want to select just the course ID. You want to select just the course ID. You don't want any other thing other than the courses that the school runs. So look at it. You just want the courses run by the school. Do you think it is an efficient way to represent your report like this? There are 327 people in the school. 327 people. Right, and then you are saying that this person runs is on this course, this person, so all these are the same course, right? In essence, how many courses do we have all together? I think I see only, how many? I think I see only 7 courses. 7. So why must we have 327 rows put out? We said select course ID from training. Why do we have 327 rows? So straight away, you know that this is not an effective query. It is not an effective way of representing this data. As a data analyst, you want to be able to represent your data in effective and appealing ways. So if you go and do this for any management team, they will simply be laughing at you. They will think you don't know what you are doing. Does that make sense? And that is where this word comes in. So let's see what happens if we bring in this word. If we bring in this word, just a small change, let's see now what happens. Does that make sense? So will your manager be happy you presenting this data? The school runs only 7 courses. And you have told them exactly, you've given them the course IDs run by the school. There are only 7 of them. It doesn't matter that these numbers are the same. This could have been 1 million, 25K. This could have been 37Z. It doesn't matter at all. The course IDs here, for simplicity's sake, have been represented using numbers, simple numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 courses run by the school, and all 7 have been represented here in an efficient, appealing to the eye manner. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. So we know how to use the select. We are now going to go into some we'll start, oh gosh, we're going to start going into some more serious stuff. Let me uncomment everything. Okay, let me just leave it for now. Leave this for now. So the next is query 4, query 3. The third type of query actually is the 4th type of query. I think I mixed up 2 of them, so that's fine. It's okay. We now want to be able to work on calculated fields. Let's change the data source to, let me see where we have fields that we can calculate. Employees, what do you think? Where do you think we can get any field to calculate on? If we are working with employees, where do you think we can have calculated fields?
I don't think we have such fields.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah, I wrote it down. We have person ID, employee, start date. Okay, we can actually check start dates, end dates. I don't know if you can do such maths here.
Okay, so what you are looking at the same. I said we should change. Remember, I just said that I want to change the data source.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at changing the table to a different table where we can do some calculations.
All right.
Then we can do simple calculations. Now, if you are an employee in an organization, on which of your personal data do you think the organization can do calculations?
Date of birth.
Pardon?
Date of birth.
What calculation? Okay, yeah, they can do calculations to find your age, but that will be just one thing they can do, isn't it?
Maybe salary.
Salary, beautiful. Your salary, your pay. Your pay. So we can look at this table here. Pay elements. Let me see if we would have that in the AdventureWorks table. If we have pay in the Adventure Works table, that means we can do the same calculations on the Adventure Works table. Currency is not pay, it's just currency, employee, da, 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 da. Okay, so I don't think we can do calculations on this. Okay. So I'll still keep to this table. But in time, we would use that table too. Don't worry. Right, so calculated fields. We want to find. So before we do that, let us just run this query. What is the field called? Pay elements. I'm surprised somebody hasn't asked me why I'm not using DBO.
I would like to know.
Well, so DBO just stands for database objects, and that is the object. So it's the object we are working on. Okay.
Okay.
Database objects. We are working on the object. Select all. And if we run this here, we're gonna get the pay elements, the pay for all the employees. Look at it carefully. You see pay type, you see pay value. Some are on salaries, some are on hourly pay, right? Obviously, this is quite an old database, so but it will do the job all the same. That is what we have here. Okay. Now we want to do some calculations on this field, right? Or before even that, we can just select a number. We don't need everything. We don't need everything. We can just select some of the things that we need here. Which of these do you think we can do calculations on? I think if we even want to do calculation, we first of all need to get the pay element ID, right? We need to get that so that we know exactly what we are working with. So if I want to calculate people's pay, I need to have their personal ID first. Pay element ID. I need to have that. I need to have their name also, or their ID. I need to have their own ID. I don't need to have their name. So long as I have their ID, I know who they are. Oh, no, person ID, sorry. And then I also need the pay value. I need the pay value. So this, like you know, like you already know, I have restricted the columns. I've just chosen a few columns, partial selection, right? I've named specific roles that we want to work on. So we run this one here, and then we have just that. Okay. We're going to take this query on. which is why I just selected these. So let's name this 4A or 3A, and let's name this 3B. Now, these pay values here, what do you think they are? Are they yearly values or monthly? I'm not sure whether realistically there could be people earning 55,000 a month, but that is not very realistic, is it? Averagely, on the average. So let's assume that this is their yearly pay, okay? This is their yearly pay. We can then calculate their monthly pay, can't we? How do we do that? How do we do that?
Divide by 12.
Divided by 12. Okay. If we run this query, let's see what we have. And we're going to build upon this. So this man here, or this person here, a month ends 4,583 pounds, pence, okay? Now forget about these ones here. These are hourly pay, but they are affected. We could have taken them out, but I don't want to take them out now. Because we haven't yet brought in the condition by which we can take these things out. Right? You know that remember we have the where condition where we can use in doing certain things. We haven't touched that yet. So just forget about what you are seeing, all these here that you are seeing. So you might be wondering, is this somebody's monthly pay? Forget about that. Okay? Just look at these ones. These are the salaried workers. Just look at those ones. All right? That's what we want to focus on. We want to forget about the other ones. So this here gives us the monthly salary of the workers those who are on salary. Is that okay? But look at what has happened. This column here is named that is named that is named this. This has no name. Will that be a good representation of a report? Will that be a good representation of a report? Can somebody tell me?
No, no, sir.
So you want your report to be as explicit and easy to understand as much as possible. Now, when you present this here in a report, you will straight away ask you no column name. What do you mean by this? What is this? They will think you don't know what you are doing. And the way around this is pretty simple, very, very simple as a matter of fact. All you do is give this a name. Give it a name. You can call it anything you want. You can call it anything that you want. So we are saying that where it says pay value divided by 12, it should name that column as what? Monthly salary. Let's see what is going to happen now when we run this query. Does that make more sense? Yes, I think it makes better sense. Right? It makes more sense now. What time is it? How many minutes do we have? About 30 minutes left. Okay, we can continue. Remember, there was just before earlier on, I was saying you should forget about this and how to get it out. We can get let me see what is there first. One moment. Let me see how to name it first. Salaried. Okay, salaried. The pay type is a salaried. Okay, so let's see this one here. Let's take it again. Now let's try to get rid of those ones that are not monthly pay, because here we are working on monthly pay, all right? So this straight away brings us to the introduction of another key word. What type of pay are we looking for? We are only looking for salaried workers. We are only looking for salaried workers. Salaried. Now you need to spell it correctly also. Okay, salaried. You need to spell it as it is in the database. Remember, I spoke about literals. So what is going to happen here? We will come back to this where command. So forget about this now. I've introduced it here simply because I want to separate the salaried workers from the hourly paid ones. But we'll come back to this where command in a little while. In fact, we would come back, we will start the where command today. We might not be able to finish it, but we will start it today. So you see, this has just produced all the salaried workers for us. Any questions so far? Oh, I have gotten rid of this. Any questions so far? No questions? No questions. Let me call somebody. Let me see if I can call somebody. Somebody's dropped off our call. I'm going to start. Oyidamola. Can you kindly unmute, please?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Okay. Are you also calling from Nigeria?
No, I'm in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK. Okay. So you have lights, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How will you calculate somebody's salary for the next 5 years?
Running a query.
Mm-hmm. Assuming the organization is doing a budget for the next 5 years, they want to see roughly what their spend will be in the next 5 years, so as not to make staff redundant.
We can maybe including the dates
Anybody can help? Can anybody help? Okay, let me call somebody. Olabode.
Stop shouting.
It has to be pay value times 5.
Pay value times 5. Thank you very much.
Sort of divided by
Pay
12.
value times. Is that Olabode who spoke?
No, Babajide.
Babajide. Okay. Pay value times 5. I just said 5 years. So here we did for 1 month. So you want to do time, you want to calculate somebody's pay for 5 years. Yeah, they agreed. The person may get pay rise within the 5 years. Even that can be computed in. Assuming I tell you that every year the person gets 5% pay rise or 2%. Even if we say compounded, we can still put that in the query and it will run it perfectly for us. Right? So for 5 years, it's pay value times 5. Okay, the next type of query is the where clause. We will spend a bit of time on that because that entails quite a lot. I do not think we will be able to finish that today. That alone can take us as long as it has taken us today. So that will be something that we might do over 2 lessons. Okay. What am I doing? Right. When do we use the where clause? You've seen an example of that. So can someone tell us when we use the where clause? When we run this query, we saw everything. When we run that query, and then nobody also asks why I put this in quotation marks. Nobody asks why I put that in quotation marks. We had only part of the roles showing, only those who earn salary. So anything within this here. No, let me go back to that table. Anything here? Where is it? Anything inside of this? Anything we have introduced here? That's what we put in quotation marks. Okay. So we now go on to the where clause. We use the where clause when we need to restrict the roles produced from a select statement. I'm writing everything in caps, no worries. When we need to restrict. Now the where clause is followed by a condition. Remember here. Remember this. Where clause is followed by a condition. Okay? So we use the where clause and the where clause is followed by a condition. What's happening to my database? Okay? We have to specify the condition. Okay? There are 5 basic types of the where clause, which is why it's going to take long. So we have 5 basic types of the where clause, or 5 basic conditions. There are 5 basic search conditions. 5 basic search conditions of the where clause. Okay, so let's look at these conditions. I think just naming these conditions today would be enough. 1. So that will be 4.1. 4.1. We have what is called the comparison condition. We have the range. We have the set membership. Yeah. We have. Hmm? Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. We have a pattern match. And we have the null condition. Null. Right. What are these for? What are they? What are comparison condition? Comparison. What do we hope to achieve with a comparison condition. Look at the word comparison. What are we trying to refer to? Yep. Anyone can help us? So this is where we compare one thing to another, right? Where we compare one value is compared to another value. And the range condition, what do you think that would be? I've given you the first answer. So somebody help me with the second.
Range condition.
Go on. Go on, go on, go on. Who started speaking? Don't be shy.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I pressed the mute thing again. I think the range condition tells the query what scope to cover while
It tells the query
selecting.
what?
Scope from
Good.
how
I
many
like that. I like
cells
that.
to
Yes.
collect,
It
what
tells the
scope
query
to
what
cover. Yeah.
scope you want to cover. So it tells the query, it tries to find out whether a value falls within a specified range. For example, you want to test whether you want to find out all people who earned between 50,000 and 70,000. It's a range, right? Right. So this tests whether a value falls within a specified range. Right. What about set membership? Who can tell us what that is?
I think it has to do with filtering your query.
Yeah, all these are filtering. All of
Yeah.
these things. Where is a
Using-
filter?
Using in clause.
Wow. I like that. I really, really like that. I really, really like that. Okay, so this test whether the value of an expression equals one of the set values. One of the set values. You know what a set is, right? I'm sure
Like
you
a
do
group.
know. Pardon?
Like a group.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's correct. And then pattern match. Who can tell us what that is?
It's also a filter.
All these, like I've said, are filters.
Yeah, but it's based on a pattern, and you use
Pattern match,
like
look-alike, similar.
like operator.
Use what operator?
Like.
Okay. Okay. Like operator. I like that. I like that. So this tests whether a string matches a specified pattern. And the final one, whether a column has a null value. Now, what is the meaning of null?
Empty value, like
Not-
empty.
Pardon?
It's like no value,
Are you sure?
empty. I don't know.
Empty? Are you sure? Who spoke?
Paradise spoke. I'm not sure.
Can anybody help Paradise? Can anybody prove Paradise wrong?
Is a cell that has no value.
Pardon?
Is a cell with no value.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody differs? Any different opinion?
From the set of value, the table given, every null cell there has no value. So I agree
Are
with
you
them.
sure?
1,000,000,000%.
1,000,000,000%. I like the confidence. However, you are all very wrong. Very, 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 very 2,000,000,000% wrong. The fact that we have a null value in a field does not mean that it is empty. It doesn't mean that there is nothing there. What it means is that we simply don't know what is there. Because if we did know that it is empty, and as you progress, we can find out, then it would behave in certain particular ways. But given that null doesn't behave in those ways that are peculiar to emptiness, its value is said to be unknown. I know a lot of people will get that, yes, and a lot of people do get that actually wrong. But yeah, this is the true reflection of null. A null value simply is a value that we don't know. So for example, in fact, this even makes it very easy. Oh gosh, I didn't even know I had this here. This makes it so easy. Look at person ID 10001. This is when the person started work. 2012, 23rd of March, 2012. When will they finish work? Do we know the date that their employment would end? You see, they put a value null here. Why do you think they put null there? They put null there because they don't know when that job will be terminated. They don't know when that person would leave the employment. They don't know when that person could be sacked. They don't know when that person will retire. In much the same way, it is not known when these values here could be modified. It is not known when the values here could be modified. If we did know that this is empty, then we would leave it simply as what? Blank. But because we don't know, we put a null. Okay? We will come across null again. So just keep this in mind. We'll come across null again. I'm not sure whether I should start something now or wait till the next lesson. If I start now, we can't even finish the first comparison. We can't even finish comparison. So I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. Any questions? Any questions? Let's take questions now. We have about 10 minutes left. Let's take some questions and then we can round up today.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please. Shoot.
Okay, so on this null thing,
Mhm.
I think from what you just said, is it that null was imputed when the
Pardon?
data was gathered? Was null typed when the data was being gathered,
Yeah.
or was it the system that put in null?
Null would have been imputed.
Okay, because sorry, I'm going to make reference to
Come again?
another. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You are breaking, but I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, making reference to maybe Python.
To
When you
Python.
yes, when you
Mhm.
upload the data
Hmm?
on Python and you try to and you type in the code and try to analyze it, when null appears, it is empty cell
Okay,
and it's
I
system that
agree
put
with you. I agree with you on that. But that doesn't explain the true meaning of null. It doesn't.
okay.
I perfectly agree with you on that. When an empty cell appears, it's indicated as a null, but it doesn't really tell us the true meaning of null. So if we have a very, very, very huge number that we simply don't know, okay, somebody give me the largest number that you think you know. Whatever the largest number that you give, there will be somebody who will give one that is bigger than that. Or if I tell you to give me the smallest number that you know, there will still be someone somewhere who will give me something smaller than that. So do we really know the largest number? Nor do we know the least number? We don't know. Do you get the point? So these are the things that are used. These are the things for which null is used. Is that a Paradise? You have your hand up.
Yes, I do. My question is more like more work related. Let's assume I get a role, assuming I'm working as a data analyst now, and then there's some sort of database management, list around my responsibilities. How can one manage a database using SQL?
That is what we are doing. That's
Okay.
what we are learning.
Okay. So I was
Okay,
actually,
I think I get your question. How can you manage a database?
yes.
Right. As a data analyst, you don't manage the database.
Okay.
The database administrator manages the database.
Okay.
The data engineer builds the database.
All right. Okay.
Right? The database administrator manages the database. So it's the database administrator who will be making use of all these words here. Those ones, those control languages that we did last week.
Like create?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will be using those. Either the data engineer or the database administrator, they will be using these things.
All right.
But as a data analyst, you don't manage the database. Unless, of course, like I said, you might find yourself in an organization that hasn't got a database at all. And then they think as a data analyst, you can start it for them. There have been instances like that. In fact, even before about 2 or 3 years ago, even in Blue Sky, somebody was told to start building a database. The person was a data analyst and the person was confused. Primarily, I started as a QA. So database is something that I knew previously. So at that time, they did. I wasn't looking at it. So the person was actually confused and contacted me and was trying to find out how he could build a database for the organization, right? So it happens. You might go into an organization, there is nobody there. You are just the only person. And they are trusting you because you have an idea of data. So they think you can do it. And then they give you that responsibility. Of course, with time, with a little bit of struggle, you will be able to get there eventually. But then it is not your role specification to manage the database. Yours is just to query the database and provide insights to the organization.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other question? Should I ask a question?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
It's just close to what Adolisa asked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If, for instance, analyzing to analyze the data set, and in the process of cleaning, I come across no.
Have you started cleaning data sets already?
I just try on my own.
Pardon?
I'm just trying out things on my own.
Okay, go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. And you come across like a cell that has no value. Do you, in the process of cleaning, do you just leave it there as null?
No. In cleaning, we have to remove all null values.
All right.
You can't use unknown things to make a report, can you?
No.
No. So you have to remove those things that you don't know. Yes, Lisa.
Okay, so following up with Brother's question, it's all nulls that need to be removed.
Pardon? Is it all null that needs to be removed?
Yes, because what if we remove it and it has a major effect on the data, on the analysis?
Right. So if you don't remove null values, how will you interpret your data with something that you don't know?
Let me give an example using the end date.
Using what?
Using the end date that is on the screen now.
Okay.
I'm not trying to answer your question. I just want to emphasize more.
Remember, I told you that this is a data set for teaching purposes. It's not a data set built for analysis.
Yes, I understand. But I've worked in an organization that their database kind of has some errors.
Okay.
It's not well programmed.
Okay.
Sometimes you can download the data and it appears something like that.
Okay.
And most of the null spaces contains information of a client,
Okay.
which if you remove most of them, try to take something like the performance analysis, is going to affect the output, the outcome of the data.
Okay. Okay. I get what you're trying to say.
What do you
So,
do?
so what would you do under that circumstance? Now, there are a number of things you can do. One of them is that you can contact whoever built the database and try to find out from them whether or not they would be able to provide that information. Alternatively, you can contact the client and find out what form of data that you have missing. Can they provide it? Right? Or you can just get rid of that particular row of data. So these are the three things you can do. Or there is also what is called no, in fact there are two of them. There are two of especially where there are figures involved. You can assign average values
Okay.
or median or mode values. Do you get the point?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. That is if you think that if there are a lot of null values, like you just said, removing everything might have a significant impact on the data that will be left. Then you want to go with maybe your median or mean values.
Okay, then
But you would understand that essentially that basically then doesn't give you a true reflection of
what
Of
is
data.
of the data.
Yeah.
So when you are writing your report, you will need to state that you've based your analysis on certain
process.
assumptions.
yeah. Okay, then on cleaning the data, I wouldn't know. How do you
Before you clean that, if you're cleaning the data, then if you have to remove the null values. So before you get to that, if you don't want to, then you need to find a way to assign values to those areas where you have null values.
Okay, so if I'm using this table that is on the screen now,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say the end date column is
I
an
can
important.
decide. I don't need to have the end time in my analysis.
Yes,
Because
I'm just
it doesn't make, pardon?
I'm just trying to give an instance. Let's assume that is an important column that we need for the analysis,
Mm-hmm.
and the null values are not much.
Mm-hmm.
How do we clean
I
this?
will get rid of those rows that have the null values.
I have it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a command for that, right?
Pardon?
There's a command for it.
Of course, yeah, there is a command for
Absolutely.
that.
Oh.
In fact, we have already touched on the command.
Mhm.
We can
Oh.
use this to get rid of that command. The last thing we did. We
Oh,
can use
the where
this. Yeah, we can use where to get rid of the command of those rules.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other question? I kind of like this latter part of the class. Okay, if there's no other question, let's call this a day. And we will continue next week. We'll continue with the where clause, okay? I'm sure we will be able to finish the where clause next week. There are just 5 instances where we have the where clause. We will finish it next week. And then we might touch on something else, a little bit of something. Maybe we'll need 1.5 hours for the remaining parts, and then we will touch on something else. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Paradise, I'll
Thanks.
send you the notes,
Okay.
and then
Thank you so much, Godwin. Yeah.
you
How are you?
good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Yeah. I was patiently listening to you. Yeah. Thanks. I enjoyed it as well as you did.
Good
So it's
evening.
good when you got response from the students, isn't it?
Yes,
And,
yes, it is. It's
which I
very
think
good.
is really, really good. Thanks. So yeah. So yeah. So we're going to continue from the where, and let's see. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thanks, sir.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Go ahead, have a good night.
Bye-bye.